So if we want to start writing HTML, like the first thing we can do, we can just create like an h.html file, okay? And then we can do code dot again. And now you can see we have an index.html file. And remember, I kind of mentioned there's really only like a few tags that we care about. We care about like the h1. And the way that all these work is, you have these kind of alligator things. And this indicates like the beginning of the h1 tag. And this slash indicates the end of it. And then we can call this like, my Airbnb site. Okay. If you want to look at it, you can just do open, at least in a Mac, open index.html. And you can see it opens this in Google Chrome, right? And there we can see there's the my Airbnb site. We can use the web inspector to like look at our own website, right? And to explore it. And we can see, okay, we have a body. So it seems to be giving us that off the bat. And then inside there is an H1. Okay. Now, so we have this H1. There are paragraph tags. Last times because we have a .html, Sublime Text or VS Code knows about this. I can just type the letter P and then press tab, and it will create the beginning and closing tags for me. And then I could put, book, online rentals, anywhere here. And again, I always like to then just refresh this. You can see this is coming up. All right, so we have the beginning, same sort of pattern. It's a P tag for paragraph. Here we're ending the paragraph, and we have the content in the middle here. Now the next thing we'll do is have an unordered list. So for that it's a UL tag. So just like a list in Python, if you think about it, like a list in Python has the beginning and closing paragraphs to closing brackets to represent the beginning and end of a list, and then we do commas to indicate each element of a list. In HTML, here's our beginning. These are essentially the equivalent of the brackets, right? Indicates the beginning and ending of the list in general. And then we have these list elements. So I can put like, Greece and Germany and wherever else, Canada, all the places you want to go. Okay, so these parts right here, these LIs, are the equivalent of each individual element, right? Just like the commas, we use that to demarcate. Here we're saying this is the beginning of one list element, here's the end of one list element, here's the next one. And we can refresh. I'll delete this 1, 2, 3. And here you can see that now we have these kind of nice bullet points here. Okay. When you're coding in HTML, many things are list elements or a list that you wouldn't expect. So for example, let's take a look. Like this might be a list. I'm not sure. But let's just see. You see this? This is a list, right? That toolbar we had across there. It's a UL, and then here's the LI for soccer and sports and MLB, right? These are list elements. So, you use these a lot, these like ULs, and then you have the individual list elements. And one thing that's like valuable to get an intuition on is like, how is a web page structured? Like it's structured with boxes. So you can kind of see like, here's a box, right? Here's a box, right? And this maybe is like a UL with some LIs inside of it. And then you just confirm that, right? Or you ask the question, like, is that the way this works? And that's what it looks like, right? Here's a UL with our LI data story 1, data story 2 inside of it. Okay. All right, so you can, we've already, even though we've only learned like 3 elements, we can see that there's a lot of what's going on. Other things to know about are like images, right? So we can do image, and then this source So I just typed in IMG and then just press tab. And now VS Code is going to, kind of say, this is an attribute, right? It essentially follows that same key value pair. So the key is source, and the value I'm gonna have to specify. And you can kind of probably guess what this is. This is the source of the image, or like the URL where the image lives. So if I wanna see if I wanna maybe put the image on my web page, I'll do, let's go to Airbnb. Maybe put this on our page. Yeah, so let's do this. So I'll do copy image address, and then I would like to paste that in here. You see, this is where the image actually lives, right? In mustache.com, pictures right here. And you can see this is a query parameter. Recognize the question mark, image width equals 720. And then we can just put this in our web page, probably, and say we'll now link to this. And then we'll refresh, and there's our image. Okay. So, that's an image. An image, you just have to pay attention to kind of this source attribute. The alt is the alternative text, like vacation rental, right? In case for whatever reason, the image doesn't show up, or for people that are vision impaired, you have this alternative text. Okay. So that's the other one, is just images, and you can see this probably has some valuable data if you say want to download, or you want to store the link. So if you're scraping data, you can now get where that image is stored. And then the final one, probably the most important one, is an anchor tag. Okay. If you think of an anchor tag, this is a link, right? This is when you click on this, what happens? And there's really two pieces of information that happen here. One is, what's the text that you see, right? So that's this thing. And let's just copy link. Sorry about that. Let's copy this. So that's the one piece of information. And that goes inside here. Let me just show you. And I'll refresh. Okay. So this is the text that you see. The next thing is however the link, where do you go when you click on that text? And that's this href property. So it's kind of equivalent to this, right? And that here's where the location of the image to show. This is the location of the website you'll visit, right? The page that you'll visit. And you can just specify, anything. We can specify this and just put that in here, I believe. And now if I go here, you can see I can click on this and it takes me to the same page. Okay. So whenever links are obviously super valuable, this is, Google's algorithm just uses links, a lot of it does. So this is really valuable to know. And what it has is text, which goes in. It can be a little confusing to understand. Let me break this down a little bit better. These A tags have one component is the href, right? This is href equals the URL that you go to when you click. And then inside the A tag is where you put the text. Go here, right? So this is what the user sees, and this is where they go when they click on it. We can review that some more, but questions about this so far? And there are readings on this. I know that I don't think I deployed these readings yet here. No? Okay, the thing to kind of understand, one other thing that we did not yet talk about are divs, right? Before, maybe 10 years ago, divs were everywhere. Now HTML created tried to make things like divs like more descriptive, but divs are essentially boxes. So, like as I mentioned, if you think of any website, it really is just like content in boxes, right? Like here's a box, here's a box, this section right here, this whole main section is a box. Inside that box is another, these boxes, right? And maybe we call these list elements, right? Maybe these are list elements as well. But like the organization of a page, oftentimes you have, like divs that break them up. Let's see if we have some divs here. So there you go. You can see how this works, right? You have this box, this div, that includes the filter here, okay? And then underneath it, probably, underneath it we have another div, not a surprise. Eventually now we have another div. Maybe this thing has a UL, but it doesn't. Hold on. Another div, another div. These are just describing boxes. And this actually is not the way I would probably just, maybe under here we'll finally get to a UL. No. But you get the point. Divs are very broad. Like they basically just describe like boxes on a web page. So you can see we have like this thing's a div, and then this thing right here without the filter is a div, and then this thing right here is also a div. It's just, rectangles or boxes that organize a web page. So when you think of like a web page, right? When you think of, if we go back to ESPN.com, this, maybe this is a UL with different list elements, but we still have this whole area here. And this is probably a div. Okay, let's see. See that? That's the banner wrap, but I guess that's where an ad would normally go, is what I clicked on. And then this section, even though it's called a section, sections didn't exist like 10 years ago, before HTML5. This is essentially a div as well. So this is a div for the main container. All right. And then this is this box right here is probably another div. Okay. So when you look at a web page, you basically just think about like the various divs that it consists of. So why do I say that? Because say we're reconstructing, ESPN, the way that I would do this, or we're doing our Airbnb site, this is probably like a div for maybe, let's do ESPN. Here we have ESPN. This header is probably going to be in a div. And so you place this inside of here, and this will be like our first box. And then, oftentimes you'll see a class associated with it, but we can talk about that later. And then you'll have another div for like the main content area. Okay. So you can start to see how HTML is structured. It's oftentimes nested, right? So we're saying inside this one box, put an H1. So first begin the box, then begin the H1, then close the box, right? That would be the equivalent of this. Begin the box, maybe up here, then have the H1, close the H1, then close the box, okay? That's what we're doing here. Now here's the next section or next div. Begin the kind of main content div, close it, and then put the content inside, okay? So that's really all the content I wanted to cover about HTML. What parts are confusing about that? Okay. We may not spend a ton of time here, just so you know. Because I want you to understand it for like, it'd be nice when we build out some like websites and things like that. But we're back-end engineers mainly. Other things to tell you when you go through this, the material, right? Just note that I put a lot of it so that you can view it, you can interact with Glitch. The main thing with HTML is just to play with it and try to construct things, see where it messes up. That's why I do like Glitch, because it kind of rapidly, if you click Remix to edit, this is now going to create your own version of this. And now we have this index.html, and then I believe you can see the equivalent. Hold on. There should be a way to see this. Settings, go to project email, embed this app. Hold on. Oh, preview. I'm guessing that's do it. Okay, open preview pane or preview in a new window. So there's that, or we can do open preview pane. So you can, that's probably better. So I clicked on preview, and then I clicked on open preview pane here. Okay, right now it says close. And now as you change this, right, as you add more here, right, like here's an H1. You can see that it will, here is my content, and it will close the H1. It kind of live updated this for us, okay? It may have even built us that website, unrolleyeasywatcher.glitch.me. So if you go to the web, you can see you automatically do have a website, all right? So this is a good way, this is built by Mozilla Glitch. It's a good way to like play around with some HTML. Do you guys feel okay about this? Do you have questions? Okay. I'll probably only give you another half an hour or so here, and then we'll move on to Flask. All right. So you can see if I do this code dot, I should see, here's my website. Okay. And, you know, here's this index.html. And then we can view this, right? Do you guys remember how by doing open index.html, and we can see what we did. Now, oftentimes, right, like your website is just not just like black and white. So if you want to make it look a little bit better or add some styling, we can add CSS. And the way that that works is first, we can just put this style tag here. I forget if I have to put it at the bottom. We'll try it at the top first. And then what you want to do is you want to essentially target specific elements. So the first way that you can target elements is with the tag. So if I target elements with the tag, let's say I'll just write H1, and then I'll have this squiggly brackets, and then I'll put this here. And now I'm gonna say what I want. So let's say font size is like 100 pixels. And I put a semicolon at the end there. And let's say color is red. Okay. And now this is starting to look good. There we go. Now our website is beautiful. So how did this work? So again, we're targeting elements. This is targeting it, right? The H1. It looks for all the H1s in your HTML. And then we're setting these attributes. Again, this is like key value pair, like a dictionary. It almost looks like a dictionary, right? I'm saying these are specific attributes, like the font size. You don't need to know, you know, if you care about them, I'll show you how to find them on a website, the color, etc. For example, like you can, yeah, David, go ahead.
Can you, since you'll probably have more than one, you know, H1 in your code, can you like give an identifier to that one specific header to only target it?
Right, we're gonna get to that. So if you care about it, you know, like if you want to like borrow someone else's CSS, you know, you can do that, I guess. This probably is an image. Lots of them are. But maybe if we want to like take a look at this, I can just click on this, I believe. And then here's a lot of, no, it's not exactly what I wanted. Let's go to ESPN again. Maybe we'll take like maybe something like that. I'm trying to see if there's any good text or something. We can take maybe something like this. Let's do inspect. Okay, and then you see this right here. This is a different CSS that's involved, and you can like copy this. You can see the different properties here. Display block, whatever that means. We can talk about that. We don't really have to. The max height, the max width. So as your people as the screen size changes, say if people minimize or close this, don't let the max height or max width, don't let the height or width go above 40 pixels or 60 pixels. So that's a lot of what a lot of people do to get started. You just copy other people's CSS. And then you can apply this, say, you can probably just paste that in here, right? And you can apply this. And now we have these other things as well. Okay. But the main point I want to make is you target it by identifying, at least for now, the tag. And now you can see, I guess we made this block, and that's why it's here, now in the center. You can see the width is only going to be so large, the height is eventually only going to be so large. But this is how we target it, and then here we put the attributes of the element that we're targeting. Like as David pointed out, if we target like these LIs, right? Beautiful. This isn't so good because the problem is, well, we're targeting everything on the page. So oftentimes, let's put this back on the H1. So you have multiple H1s, right? This same styling is going to be applied to everything. Sometimes that's good, like maybe the font, you want it to be the same, or maybe you want a certain color for each of the links, right? So sometimes that is good, but lots of times it's not. Let's just add another styling. Let's target our LIs. We'll make the color blue, okay? And now you can see these are blue. Now if I only want to make certain of them blue, some of them blue, right now that's not possible. But what we can do, and this is oftentimes what you will do, is it's almost like paint by numbers. I'm going to put a class here, and I'll call this blue. I like to make them descriptive. Let's call this like font blue, okay? And now what I'll do is I'll define that class over here. So dot font blue, this is me defining a class. So notice with tags, there's no precedent, there's no prefix, but here there's a dot, okay? And now again, the rest is the same. So I'll put color blue, and let's remove this. So this is commented out. So now what's getting targeted? Only the things that have a class of font blue. It's gonna look for all the elements that have a class of font blue, and then apply it. So you see that? It's just this one that's getting targeted. So this is like a good way to do it. It's like paint by numbers, essentially, right? Where this is like the number, and then this guy's painting everything that has this identifier with the attributes. If you do, let's say like large text or something like that, and let's say font size equals 25 pixels. Okay, and now we can, I guess, make this one large text for now. And I'll save it. And now this guy has large text. If you want to apply two classes to the same element, I can just do something like this. I can put a space and now do large text. And now you can see this got both styles. If you inspect the element, you can see it, right? Here's font blue, large text, and then over here, you can see what each thing is doing. Large text is adding a font size of 25 pixels, and the blue is right here. And then interactively, you can check or uncheck, sorry, I'm having issues with this, each of these. So if I want to see what it looks like without the color, without this it can just uncheck this, and now it's black, right? This wasn't permanent. It's just a way for you to like experiment with it. Now if you refresh, it comes back. You can see like what it's like to to toggle or untoggle specific styles. The same thing, like you can add styles on the fly. Like here you have this element style, and I can say, oh, like, we're targeting this LI, and let's say I want the background color to be like red. Now you can see what that looks like. And then if you want this, I think you can always copy and paste it like this. I think there's a way, I'm not sure. I think there's a way to like kind of get this. I guess I forget how. But you can copy and paste it, and it does a nice job actually. Right? And I can just say like, oh, that looks good. We'll put that in here, and we'll add a new class for this or whatever. Background red. I'm missing the dot for the class. And now if there's anything I want to target with that, I can just paint it, background red, put a space here, and then come back and refresh. And now you can see that this is applied, right? If I add, is it applied? Blue text, oh, it's the second LI. So there you can see it, background red, large text. Same thing, you can delete these. If I want to, this is another way to kind of play around with it. Just delete this. Take out the large text class, and now it's normal size. And you can do that with any web page, You can be like, oh, what does this class do? I'm not sure, content item logo. Let's delete this. Oh, that's what it does, I guess. Content header wrapper. Just delete the class, see what styling's being applied, right? So CSS, right? What did we kind of learn with it? There's really two, I'll share my screen again. There's really like two things. There's two steps. One is you kind of define the class or define the styling, right? So that here we're saying H1 when we're targeting tags. And we know that you can target any tag just by simply typing the name of the tag. But the issue with that is that you're going to apply this to every single element on the page. And you don't always want to do that. So instead, lots of times what you'll do is you'll use a class, right? And then you can kind of give styling just to elements that have that class. So the first step is maybe you define the class, background red, describe the styling, right? So it's key, colon, value, semicolon. You need a semicolon at the end of each key value pair. Okay? Then you tag elements with the styling by doing class equals. Okay? And if you want to have, multiple classes apply to the same element, you just put a space in between, that's it. Questions about this? There is a little bit more to go over with this. But questions so far? Okay, one other thing to talk about, you will hear about IDs. Classes are for basically if you can tag multiple elements, you'll use a class. If you can tag multiple elements with the same kind of styling, then you use a class. If you're just intending to tag one element with a specific styling, then you use an ID. ID is for you only use once on a page. IDs are really out of fashion now because you want the ability, like why not give yourself, they don't restrict you, like there's no rule saying you can't apply an ID to multiple elements, but why not just plan for the possibility that you could? So basically you always use classes. But if you want to learn about IDs, you do that with a pound sign, and you would call this like the logo, for instance, because there's only one logo on a page maybe. So you'll put, here's the ID of logo, and then you'll say, the font size is like 15 pixels and the color is green, okay? And now what do? We tag the logo, H1, with an ID equals the logo. Let's see if that worked. There you go, okay? So that's the idea. Now, people do not recommend putting your styles in the same page as your HTML. So instead what you do is you link to this. Okay, so you can see we demarcated our styles with this style tag and then put everything inside of it. But you can have an index.css. This doesn't matter. You can call this whatever, but it should be .css. And now we'll copy and paste all those styles into here. Delete, delete. So I don't need the style tag anymore. So I deleted this and deleted the one at the end of the page. And let's just unindent these. This should be tabbed in. This is just good practice. Delete the comment. All right. And now what we need to do, if we refresh, we'll see all the styling is gone. So what we need to do is we need to link the styles in this CSS to here. And the way you do that is, I think, link. There you go. So we just type link rel style sheet. So it's going to link. This is going to link my style sheet, and the href is like URL, right, or where the styles exist. For me, the styles exist in / the current directory / index.css. So now if I do this, my styles are back, right? So it's linking to this sheet. And the other thing you'll see is if you click on sources, you can see the two files are here. So here's the index.html, and then here's all the CSS related to it. So this is generally how you'll do this, is you'll have a separate style sheet, and then you'll link to it somewhere here. This is not about, the user doesn't see this link, they don't see this link. So lots of times you'll do this in the header. Header is for metadata type stuff, or things that the user isn't really there to see. You may also put a title here, like ESPN. What does that do? That would change this to ESPN. You see that? So things like that, things that are not directly on the page, you'll put in a header. So the main thing to understand is this process of selecting elements and then setting certain attributes. We don't have to know all these attributes, really any of them. And we do that with tag selector and class selector, and rarely, but once in a while, the ID selector. So it's class selector, define the class, say what we're going to be selecting, and then paint by number by saying, okay, let's make this background red. Okay, what questions are there about this? No? All right, I'll let you guys paint. We'll see how good. Yeah. Do you have a question? No? All right, so let me deploy the curriculum.
Oh, I think David had a question.
Oh, sure. Yeah, David, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, in general,